I never received any payout.
For years, we have all watched as the Duggars have tried to convince everyone that they're a wholesome conservative family. But now the people closest to them are revealing just how sinister they really are below the surface. And you'll never believe all the horrible things that were just revealed about this gigantic family. If you haven't heard about the crazy docuseries that was just released exposing the Duggars, you're seriously missing out. Because for ages now, everyone in their lives has tried to protect and hide some pretty horrible secrets about this family. And finally, they're all revealing what Jim, Bob, and Michelle have been hiding since before they were even famous. Of all the people who were in the docuseries, by far, Jill was the craziest. She was the only Duggar child to appear in the series, and for the first time ever, she didn't hold back about what she feels about her parents, her brother Josh, and the way that she was raised. And we even learned that for years, Jill was being told to lie to protect her family's income. I don't even know where to start with all of this, you guys. It's literally so insane. Do you guys remember that bizarre Megyn Kelly interview that Jill, Jess, and Jim Bob and Michelle did when the news about Josh came out in 2015? At the time, we all knew that it was bad, but Jill revealed just how bad it really was because she said that she regrets ever doing it in the first place. And Derek revealed that she was pretty much told that she had to do it for the sake of saving the family's income. But that wasn't even the craziest reveal, because they also revealed that they were told to lie. The story that Jill, Jessa, and their parents told on Megyn Kelly's show was a completely different story from what eventually came out about the incident during the trial. And it was a completely different story from what Jill and Jim Bob's former best friend Jim Holt said in the docuseries. On Megyn Kelly, all four of the Duggar family members who appeared massively tried to downplay the incident, and they even said that Josh confessed to everything. According to Jill and Jessa, they never even knew that anything happened because Josh had confessed to himself since it allegedly happened while the girls were sleeping. But we now know that couldn't have been further from the truth. Pretty much everyone close to the Duggar family that appeared in the docuseries confirmed that Jill was the one who exposed what Josh was doing, which contradicts the entire story told in the Megyn Kelly interview. It contradicts that the girls were sleeping when it happened, which was a big lie that Jim Bob and Michelle used to downplay everything. It contradicts that they had no idea that anything happened, and it contradicts that Josh was some amazing upstanding citizen like they wanted us to believe and turned himself in. No, the truth is that no one would have ever known about all these things happening if Jill hadn't been extremely brave as a preteen and turned her brother in. And Jim Holt and his wife, Bobby, revealed something even crazier about the entire situation. If you didn't know this, Josh actually had a different girlfriend before Anna. She was Jim and Bobby's oldest daughter, Kaylee. Jim and Jim Bob were childhood friends who just happened to each have a son and a daughter 2 days apart. So it seemed like it made perfect sense for that son and daughter to get married eventually, right? Well, luckily for Kaylee's sake, that wasn't what ended up happening, but it almost did, because Jim Holt revealed that Jim Bob had no intention of telling him anything that Josh had done until after the fact. They wanted to get Josh married off to Kaylee before they told Jim and Bobby what he had done to his sisters, and he even admitted that he was using Kaylee like he was dangling a carrot of sorts to get Josh to behave. I mean, it's just disgusting. And even though there were a ton of extremely eye-opening things that were revealed about the Duggars' religion, the IBLP, like the fact that Jim Bob and Michelle are believed to be the heads of the IBLP ever since Bill Gothard, the founder of the entire group, was forced out because of his own indiscretions against young women just like Josh. One of the craziest reveals, to me at least, was just how mistreated Jill was by the producers making the show for so many years. I mean, I don't even know where to start with everything that went on. First of all, we already knew that one of the kids were paid for being on the show because Jill came forward with that years ago. Jim Bob would get paid and keep all the money, even though most of the kids on the show were legal adults and should have been getting paid. But it only gets worse when we learn about what happened with the birth of her first son. Jill had decided that she didn't want the birth of her son filmed, she didn't want people in the room with her, and she didn't want cameras. She had seen what Anna had gone through while giving birth on camera and didn't want the same thing for herself. So she told TLC that, but instead of TLC agreeing to that, they told her that she had to. She had no choice because of a contract she had signed. Instead, they gave her and Derek cameras to film themselves for as much of the birth as possible, which meant that Jill was forced to put her birth on TV, and she wasn't even paid for it. It's pretty ironic when you think about it. Everyone was tuning in for the women, especially their weddings and births. No one was tuning in for Jim Bob, and yet none of these women were ever paid. Jim Bob was literally profiting off the work of all the women in his family, but Jill's pay gets even worse in regards to Israel's birth, because Jill and Derek asked TLC if they would cover the out-of-pocket costs from Israel's birth, as in whatever wasn't covered by insurance, since they had clearly made a lot of money off of this episode, but TLC told them that they had been paid. It's just that Jim Bob got the money, so they weren't on the hook for anything. And if Jill and Derek wanted to get the out-of-pocket costs covered, they need to take it up with Jim Bob. It's pretty disgusting when you really think about it. And even though we all knew that there was so much control going on and so many weird things surrounding the religion, I don't think that any of us would have guessed that it was even happening with the people who were making the show, when they're not even a part of their weird religion. It's crazy how they were just as complicit in the mistreatment of these girls as Jim Bob, Bill Gothard, and all the other people in the IBLP were. And even though it's great to see that some of the girls have made it out, like Jill and Ginger, it's so sad to think about all the women in this family who were still being controlled by Jim Bob. Not even to mention all the people that are still being controlled by the IBLP. But what do you guys think about all this? Did you watch the docuseries? If you did, what were you most shocked by? I can't wait to hear what everyone else thought of it, because I truly thought it was one of the most interesting documentaries that I've seen in a long time. And even though I knew a lot about the Duggars already, there were definitely some pretty eye-opening reveals that I was not expecting.